Hello and welcome to the Full Force Weekly, proudly brought to you by Battle Action Force, the Treasury Editions. I am your host, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic 80. In this episode, I bring you all the news from the past week in the world of G.I. Joe. So what is it, me? It's the Full Force Weekly. Hello everyone, hope everyone is doing well on this Saturday, November the 8th. The normal time to go live, actually, 3 p.m, which is good, EST. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Got lots of comic news to talk about this week. We've got, what else we got? We've got, obviously, what do I keep? The classified pre-orders, that happened this week. And then lots of stuff in the shout-outs. So it's not a packed week by any means, but we're going to talk it up a storm as we always do. I was also thinking of having a little conversation or a little chat with you guys regarding made to order, this MTO kind of format that we're going to be looking at with the Arctic Hiss, and what other vehicles we could probably see, as well as, and not just, the HasLabs every year following sort of thing, but like any vehicles that would fit in that mold. So I kind of want to discuss that with you guys as well at some point. We'll probably do that when we're at the going through the listing stage and all that jazz, all that good stuff. Yeah. Is it similar to direct to consumer? Well, not really figure six pack. It's something different. It is effectively you're pre-ordering. It's kind of like a crowdfund, but they only make effectively what is ordered in that small time period, and then like that it's open, which I think is like 30 days, I want to say. And in that time period, you get your orders in. I feel like they probably do have to hit a certain quota as well, but I don't know if they'll ever communicate that. Honestly, and then I think at some point it's just a case of they just make to order, and then they would obviously make a few extras. Or we'll get to that later. Anyway, I hope everyone's having a good weekend, as it is. And we'll get into it. So let's stop just the banter and let's actually move into the news. And we'll start, of course, with the pretty a decent amount of comics news to get into. Let's do it. Yes, the Dreadnok War has begun, and A Real American Hero 323 gets a cheeky preview. So we've got a few things to get stuck into today. First off, let's talk about what comics arrived this past week, starting with the Volume 2, the trade paperback of the ongoing Energon G.I. Joe series, which is titled Blood's Revenge. And in this, obviously, we've had Volume 1 already. Of course, what issue are we at now? I forget what issue we're at now. We're at 13, I think it is. So it will collect. I don't know the exact amount of issues it collects, these little mini trades, but effectively we're at Volume 2, and this kind of like story arc where Major Blood was, basically trying to get back at Baroness in that sense. So yes, this is obviously a little trade. So if you are behind on the issues, if you're not reading the Energon universe and you kind of want to, then these little trades are a great option to do that. I have been genuinely loving the Energon universe. I look forward to it every single time. I've been enjoying A Real American Hero as well. So we are getting spoiled at the moment for comics, and the quality is off the friggin' chain. So anyway, Volume 2 of the ongoing Energon Universe G.I. Joe series is now out and available in comic stores. So there you go. As well as that little kind of collection of issues, and we will be talking about Energon Universe shortly in more detail, We also have Void Rivals issue 24, which dropped as well, which heavily features Pythona in this one and some Royal Guards. They've been sort of like a B plot for the last couple of issues, but they had a good prominent kind of element of the story in this issue with Wheelie, who they bumped into. I should have said spoilers ahead. We are going to be talking spoilers. They're not crazy spoilerish, but yeah, Wheelie's in the house. You can imagine the dynamic between Wheelie and Pythona and Cobra La, can't you? It's sort of like, what on earth is this creature? And vice versa, probably. Skybound has done a great job, says Shelf Presence. I think so. Airborne's Custom says, I'm such a slacker, so far behind on the comics. Well, trade paperbacks are your way back in, Darren, on that sense. Yeah, Knock War, indeed, Shelf Presence. I'm excited to talk about that because the first issue, which in fact is this one, issue 13, and funnily enough, the marketing post they made had the wrong title. So it's G.I. Joe 13, but it is not a standalone Night Force covert op at all. That was the previous issue. The copy is the same, but obviously the subheading is incorrect. So I did pick up on that and kind of go, hang on. They just obviously forgot to update that bit of copy on the image, which is, it happens. I've been there. As someone that has to constantly maintain and edit copy that go out on a social platform, I get it in a big way. Airborne says, oh, I have the majority of the issues on Kindle, but just haven't caught up. Totally cool. I was just also adding that, a good way of people catching up in general is with the trade paperbacks, but totally fine, Darren, if you're not one of those people. Mad at Energon and not buying books, but trade paperbacks I will, but I was nixed on Choose Your Side. I was on time. I got the Kickstarter and uploaded early on. I was not in a comic. I will buy no more books. Okay, Couch Boy, that sucks. Anyway, coming back to issue 13. Now, this obviously is the first part of the Dreadnok War, and this has kind of been building for a while, where you have effectively Cobra Commander is kind of running Cobra, obviously, but he's doing it in such a way that is creating, as with all evil empires, you have these kind of very kind of like tumultuous, difficult, complex power struggles going on all the time. Obviously, Destro is such a big, major character and someone that wants to be running Cobra himself. He doesn't want Cobra Commander. He doesn't want to have this kind of, what would you call it, relationship with Cobra Commander. He's got his own beef with Cobra Commander. Ripper, who is sort of become like a very influential, high up sort of character in the Cobra organization because he flipped sides when the Dreadnoks basically got their A's handed to them by Nemesis Immortal or Enforcer, however you look at it. And because of that, the Dreadnoks and Ripper hold a grudge against Cobra Commander. So with that sort of like power struggle and dynamic that's been going on, what you have is the Dreadnoks, who are not like, part of Cobra at the moment. They're, other than Ripper, the Dreadnoks are kind of like elsewhere, not being seen, not being heard, and Cobra sort of unaware of any sort of threat. Cobra Commander unaware of any sort of threat to his leadership. And towards the end of the previous issue, we saw Destro and Ripper sort of consulting with each other, colluding. You could say it was a bit of collusion going on. If you're a fan of the League, I love that show so much. Or you used to love it. It's not on anymore. But yeah, a lot of collusion going on with Destro and Ripper. Now, Destro was basically trying to get in Ripper's ear, saying, well, if I had any sort of grudge against Cobra Commander, I might hint at some, the Dreadnoks where where he is or where he's going to be, or that sort of thing. He was basically trying to nudge Ripper in the direction of, I feel like we need to make a change in Cobra right now. And I feel like Cobra Commander needs to be, taken out of the picture. So with that, we start this particular issue with these kind of like energon frequencies popping up all over the globe. And because of that, because obviously they're running out of the first major source of energon that was first found in that Dreadnok swamp early on, right? And that is a very particular type of energon that was very powerful, but it's they're down to like their very few elements remaining. So they have to look elsewhere for it. And as they were doing I think Joe and Cobra are checking the map, these kind of like energy signals and kind of hits are coming up over the globe with these points of where this other energon could be, not as potent, but other energon which they need to obviously power their weapons. The Transformers need it, like Clutch and Hound, for example, who are kind of like buddy buddy at the moment. And Hound is sort of like, stealthily in at the Joes, even though he's not made himself aware, other than to Clutch and Risk now, and of course Mercer and a few Vipers found out too. But they're Cobra obviously at this point. So anyway, this whole sort of like push is happening, and then this particular energon signal appears in the middle of the desert somewhere, middle of nowhere in the US, and Cobra Commander says, this one's a really interesting signature, more so than all the others. I'm going to check this one out myself. Everyone, send everyone else out to all these different points. I'm going to go check this one myself. And that basically gives Ripper that opportunity to make his move. So they go out into the desert. And at the same time, Duke has, even though he's, I think, on he's going on R&R, he's going to chill and just decompress for a little while. He's asked to go check this out, or he probably just forces his way to check it out. The same location, the same energon signature. So he goes to check that out as well. So obviously the two worlds collide. Duke turns up. He sees Cobra Commander in the desert with the HISS tanks and everything. We've seen that in the preview. And they're, basically trying to find it. He's trying to make calls out on his, cell phone, I think on his communicator, and nothing's getting out. So there's some sort of issue going on around there. I think they're probably thinking it's the energon that's creating this disturbance with the radio signals. In any case, Duke is kind of far enough away not to be noticed by Cobra Commander and all of the troopers that are trying to dig up this energon, and Ripper's there as well. And then out of nowhere, that Ripper makes his move. He has basically been the one to prevent any signals getting in and out of the area they're in. And turns out the energon was actually, like a ruse, an elaborate ruse to get Cobra Commander to that particular location. They knew that he would bite on this particular energon signature. So he basically kicks off with Cobra Commander, cuts his arm off, or chops his robot arm off, I should say, because he's kind of got a few like cyborg additions to him. And the Dreadnoks turn up, and it's all about to kick off. And Duke steps in to take out Ripper. Doesn't kill him, just kind of knocks him senseless. And then basically takes Cobra Commander sort of like prisoner and jumps in the Jeep, and they try and hotfoot it out of there with the Dreadnoks closing in, sort of thing. So it's basically the whole lead up to this particular Dreadnok war. And, now we're seeing all of the Dreadnoks basically turn up, and Ripper is now going to be back on the Noks, and the Noks going to be their own thing, and boom, away you go. I know Mark probably isn't watching at the moment, but I can't recall, and maybe one of you guys can, if Zartan has shown up yet, but I don't think he has. I might be really misremembering that, but has Zartan shown up in Energon Universe? I don't think he has. Or I have had a massive brain fart. Can someone confirm if Zartan has shown up in the Energon Universe yet? He might have done in that first Cobra Commander series, but I don't think I've seen him. I haven't seen him for the longest time because it's been Major Blood's. No, he hasn't, has he? Major Blood has obviously gone through some changes. He's got two eyes now, as in two cybernetic eye implants. because the Baroness took both of them out, and yeah, and like a really serious robotic kind of arm, but like he's been sort of like shown off. Raptor's been sort of shown off as well. And of course, you've got Destro, Baroness, Chameleon, the twins, etc., 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 etc. But we haven't seen Zartan. Xandar referenced Zartan, presumably as under deep cover in Cobra Commander. Ah, nice one, Tac Tac. Thank you. So maybe we will get something soon regarding Zartan. Maybe this is where we see Zartan show up, because they've obviously made a big deal about a road pig making his debut in the Dreadnok War. They've made a big deal about Roadblock making his debut in this this kind of like 5-parter as well. So interesting. If I'm kind of hoping that Zartan shows up maybe towards the end of it. That would be really, really cool. In any case, it's kicked off. The Dreadnok War has started, and we get a lot of comics now coming thick and fast. I believe I might be wrong in saying it's weekly. It might be every other week. I can't remember now. Does it say on there? It doesn't, does it? It doesn't say on the copy. I think it's basically we're just going to get a lot of these issues in a short space of time. So it's going to be coming thick and fast, the Dreadnok War. And again, I think in terms of like the name, I think they're probably bigged that up a little bit. It's not so much a war as it is the Dreadnoks, like, bullying Cobra Commander and Duke for 5 issues maybe. But yeah, I suppose from Duke and Cobra Commander's perspective, it's a bit of a war. Saving Zartan for a big entrance, says Couchboy. Yes, and I can't wait, honestly. Because I mean, you can't avoid Zartan, can you? You can't not have. Sorry, that's terrible grammar. But you can't produce a G.I. Joe comic and not feature Zartan at any point. That would just be mental. And have an entire Dreadnok War going on without him. By the time they're done with Blood, he's basically going to be overkill, says Nictimus Prime. Possibly. Figure Sixpack says, you're telling me that if Duke hadn't interfered, the battle with Cobra would have been over. Well, certainly the battle with Cobra Commander would have been, because at the end of the issue, Destro basically takes the throne, sits down and says, like, Cobra is mine now. So he's kind of gathered the stragglers together, Chameleon, the twins, Major Blood, etc., and basically told them the scenario. Cobra Commander's gone missing. We can't get hold of him. Cobra's mine now, sort of thing, which is a bit of a stretch, isn't it? From the perspective of the other guys, if you're in that sort of like meeting, that's a stretch as well. But if you're in that group and Destro's like, yeah, we tried calling him, he's not answering, so I'm just going to take over. It's like, mate, the seat's still warm. Give it a minute. You know what I mean? Like he is an adult. He can just bugger off, do what he wants, and come back whenever. Like, he doesn't have to check in. Like, this is Cobra Commander we're talking about. So I thought that was quite funny. Obviously, Destro knows a bit more of what's going on, but he's effectively saying, "Yep, I'm taking over for now." So that's where it kind of leaves off, basically. And yeah, so I can't, like I said, I can't wait to see how this one unfolds. But that is the start of the Dreadnok War. We also have a preview for issue 323 of A Real American Hero. So again, A Real American Hero has been really good as of late, as of all the Skybound issues, but I've really been enjoying A Real American Hero. I had such a lot of fun reading, well, I say reading is a stretch, looking at the pictures of the 321 Silent issue multiple times, because I thought that was an absolute masterpiece. Chris Mooniam's like artwork is just gorgeous. Larry obviously can tell a story so well. With in that sense, he's had a lot of experience in the silent issue kind of arena. So I really enjoyed that. It was an absolute banger. And in this one, Dreadnok heavy again. So this is Zartan and the Dreadnoks. They're at Broca Beach, are they? Yeah, Daytona Beach, actually. Sorry, not Broca Beach. I assumed it was Broca Beach when I read the issue, but no, it is Daytona Beach. So they've basically commandeered this, this bar, and Road Pig is being like, is basically the bouncer. He's keeping everyone out and just allowing the Dreadnoks in as a private function situation. Zanzibar turns up, which is nice because we get Zanzibar. We don't get a lot of Zanzibar, but he's been in a Real American Hero quite a bit. Just, you know, he doesn't have like lots to do, but he does have, you know, he does show up quite often. We have the whole crew here basically. We've got Zanzibar, Sandar, Zorana, Zartan, of course. We've got Torch, Buzzer, Ripper. We've got Thresher. Who else is in there? Norgahide, and a random female in the background. I'm not sure if that's just someone in who isn't like part of the Nox, or if it's like Heartwrencher or someone like that. I can't really tell, but she's not like everyone else is kind of called out by name. And that classic Larry sort of over explanation sometimes of who's in the scene. He does do that quite often. If you notice, he will get the characters to call each other their code names, like even when it doesn't feel very natural. So it does help sometimes if, you know, you get a bit of misidentification, but in this case, you know, we probably don't need it because the art is so good you can identify them all. And then we get this sort of like situation before the end where a bunch of kind of locals show up saying, you know, what's all this about a private function? This is our local. We'll kick off if you don't let us in. Ropig lets them in. Obviously, there's going to be a massive Barney trouble. There's going to be a fight, isn't there, basically? And the Dreadnoks are kind of like primed, ready to be the ones to dish it out. So that's going to be interesting. And the characters that they've used as these kind of like random 3 or 4 or 5 actually characters that are sort of like forcing their way in to the event really remind me of, and this might be a stretch, but certainly one of them reminds me of one of the characters, the guys with the glasses and the big beard and the bald head, the kind of main ringleader here. He reminds me of a character that was in Arise Serpentor Arise when they're picking the next Dreadnok, when it was Thresher and Monkey Wrench joining the team. And you had Monkey Wrench kind of like standing back and letting them all kick off, and then just threw a grenade in there and was like, there you go, I win. And then Thrasher turns up in his Thunder Machine after he'd been thrown in the water by Zorana. So he, in any case, it just reminds me, like, I feel like they might have taken some inspiration from some of the guys in that scene. But he definitely does look like that one guy with the bald head, the glasses, and the other shades and the big beard. Definitely kind of reminds me of one of the guys in that group that gets kind of like, I think he's on a motorcycle actually, and Monkey Wrench just puts a grenade in the back of his, like puts a bomb in the back of his pack on his bike and he blows up. Anyway, lots of Dreadnok love, isn't there? Like at the moment on both runs. So we also get obviously we've got lots of covers with this one as per the Andy Kubert and Laura Martin, which is really nice actually. That Cobra Commander pose is really cool. Like, I always find it really refreshing when an artist of Andy Kubert's amazing, but when an artist can do something like that feels a little bit new, fresh, original with a comic cover. And yes, we've seen comic covers where you've kind of got a main character and you've got other characters in the background, sort of in a group or lined up. But this one, I love the pose on Cobra Commander. It's something I just don't think I've really seen a lot of before. He's kind of, because it could have very easily just been his back to the camera or to the viewer's shot. And the fact that he's got this kind of half turn going on, one, makes it really dynamic. The cape flying around as well is amazing. But also that sort of, the way that you can kind of still see a lot of Cobra Commander, like, and he's effectively not facing you, is kind of impressive. So I really like what Andy Kubert's done there. And obviously Laura Martin's colors are great on that too. And then of course you've got the black and white kind of inks version of it from Andy as well, which is really a nice kind of look as well. Again, cracking covers, those ones. I really like those. And then of course we also have the classic Steve Beach now, which he's doing these Gears of Joe variants, which we've seen Duke and the Skyhawk, we've seen Shipwreck and the Devilfish. Now we get in Baroness and the Ferret. And then, of course, I think we've got a Destro, which we haven't seen yet. And we've also got, what's the other one? Covergirl and the Wolverine, which it's been revealed, but we haven't got to that issue yet. But the Destro one is the one that hasn't actually been revealed. It's just been talked about and mentioned in copy, but hasn't actually been revealed yet, that I'm aware of anyway. It might have been. But there you go. So another Steve Beach Gears of Joe variant cover. And it's a nice one, Baroness and the Ferret. I will say a couple of things on these ones. They're really cool. I like the Gears of Joe variant covers, but it was touted as an iconic character with their iconic vehicles and gear. And I don't necessarily associate the Ferret with the Baroness, as like I do with the twins, and I do associate, like there's a few vehicles I associate with characters more than others. When it comes to like the Baroness and Duke, it's difficult because they don't really have that association, because they're sort of like, their characters are so, they're like larger than life, and they sort of operate all the vehicles. So it's kind of like a bit of a cheat. The Shipwreck and Devilfish was a good shout. Wetsuit's another one I would say with the Devilfish too. But Shipwreck was a really good one. A Shipwreck and Polly on the Devilfish is a really good one. Wolverine and Covergirl obviously make a lot of sense because that's the vehicle she came with. And I would even go as far as to say is with Cobra Commander and the Hiss Tank, they're the two most iconic, features of Cobra, the Commander and the Hiss Tank. It's like they go together, even if they're not like, it's not his vehicle that he drives around, but he is seen often in that vehicle. I'd also say that the Claw is synonymous with Cobra Commander, thanks to the cartoon and the comic. But yeah, anyway, in any case, there you go. Steve Beach, Gears of Joe. That is actually all the comics news for the week, but that was nice. I enjoyed going through that with you guys and getting into a bit of detail. Who is enjoying the comics at the moment? Are you guys enjoying the comics at the moment? Let me know in the comments, and I'll try and grab some at some point and talk to you guys, even if we're not talking about it on screen. Joe says, good afternoon, everyone from San Diego. Wales. Blitz says, I'm trying to figure out what he's saying. Who, me? Blitz would have loved to see her in the Moray. Baroness, yeah, for sure. And Couchboy says, who buys all these covers every month? Not I, I'll say, Couch, because that is that's a lot of covers. It's a lot of covers. Crocmaster could have fit in with the Dreadnoks. I think he does sort of anyway, figure six pack. My Dreadnok kind of shelf also features Crocmaster. Don't want to be your monkey wrench, not spiders. I ate spiders, says Jordan from Canada. Indeed. I ate spiders. He loves explosions, though. Lad explosions. For sure, Skybound is doing a great job, and Larry is a legend, says Shelf Presence. Let It Roll says loving them. Yeah, I'm definitely in the loving them camp at the moment. In any case, I'll move on. But if you do have any more comments, guys, I will obviously try and get to them as best I can. Next up, then, I was switching out of comics and into classified pre-orders. Yes, we got retro pre-orders, to be very specific, actually, this week, including the retro female Crimson Guard, Crazy Legs, and Zap, of course. Now, we've gone through these. I went through these in quite a lot of detail during the week on the news burst, but, it doesn't hurt to kind of go over any other aspects or talk about other things. So I'm going to do it anyway. There you go. You've heard my thoughts, I believe, on pretty much all of this, but I'm just going to go through, summarize my kind of feelings on the retro kind of series at the moment. I'm kind of I feel like, and this might just be me personally, but I kind of feel like the opportunity to have these two lines, to me, when Classified first started, I assumed after that first wave that they would be doing sort of like another line that would be very much vintage based related, right? And that you'd sort of get like two lines concurrently running where you had your Classified updated sort of kind of characters, and then your more vintage inspired versions that sort of run concurrently together. Now, not having all the information at hand at the time, I didn't realize that the budget was so low on that first year, which is kind of crazy what they managed to actually kind of do with all of, with the line in those early years. But and it's not like a massive budget now, but you know what I mean. Like, I feel like they didn't really have the opportunity, or they didn't really have the budget to do that as a thing. So that's why I was kind of a little kind of shocked when we would get certain characters that would be like very much this classified update, and other characters which would be very vintage. And then we got the kind of retro card backs sort of introduced, which I don't think they were introduced in the strongest possible way. But again, I believe budget was kind of very much a player in what we got in that first wave of retro. Which, if I'm not mistaken, Gung Ho, Lady J, Baroness Destro, or was that the second wave? Can't remember now. It's been so bloody long. In any case, we got a very cool Gung Ho, sort of very retroized Gung Ho. We got all of his accessories as well, which was kind of cool. And so that was really awesome. With Lady J, we got a sort of redeco, and we got retro accessories with her, which again, I'm really into both those Lady J's. I think they're great figures. But I especially like that retro one with those, like with the retro elements with the camera, the backpack, and all that kind of stuff. So that's great. Then you had Destro and the Baroness, which I kind of looked at and thought, do we really need them? Because Destro was hardly different. Baroness was very, like, pretty much the same. There's like, it's not a great deal of difference. You might prefer that one over the coil cycle one, which again is fair, but it just felt like it just didn't feel worth it, honestly. Now, again, budget was 100%, an issue, and that's why you got what you got basically in that first wave. But obviously Gung Ho and Lady J took a lot of the brunt of the cost in that particular wave. Gung Ho got like a lot of redos, his new head sculpt, all the gear, the accessories, the secondary. I think the body was effectively the same and the legs were the same, but obviously redecoed, retro accessories as well. So he got like the full, he got the full force of that retro makeover. And Lady J got the rest of it with her accessories. But Destro and the Baroness, I still looked at that and felt like it wasn't the strongest starting point for me personally. And I feel like as well, obviously, the cards were very weak at that point. The card backs, like, I was really surprised they went with that really thin, flimsy card back, just because you've had that kind of experience at Hasbro with the Marvel Legends. I think they went through a similar kind of process of starting with those kind of flimsier card backs and then ending up with a really thick, kind of reinforced, folded over on itself kind of card stock, which is the right way to go, in my opinion, with these particular figures, because they're much bigger, much heavier. They need that sort of support. The other things, though, that they just have not got right yet is the actual card design itself, front and back. We've had hugely inconsistent art styles. We've had, when it's considering the fact that it's supposed to be just replicating that retro vintage artwork, and then they keep doing this sort of like AI additional elements to everything. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I feel like you need to pick a lane and sort of stick to it, but that lane is sort of like, it's not something you don't have to change anything. You don't have to do anything. You sort of just have to stay with the similar. You've got rules basically that can be applied here. Make sure the art is on point and in line with what you've had previously, and then just design the card the exact same way. Like, the fact they did away with the white border, they brought it in for the Hiss Tank Cobra Commander, and then immediately dropped it following on. And I'm like, what on earth? Like, the white border is, I think, still really an important part of the retro card backs. And they've only done it on one of them. So for me, it feels like Cobra Commander is the only one they've got right so far in that sense. But yeah, I kind of, yeah. So anyway, I feel like they've really they were also hampered in the early years of the retro line. That first wave, that not first kind of series, should we say, that first kind of phase, let's call it, not wave, but the phase of those particular figures. When we got to the end, the last two, and we had like Zartan and Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes now as a retro, but then like another Crimson Guard. We were effectively told early on that the last two were going to be Major Blood and Snake Eyes, and clearly Blood kind of went elsewhere and looks to have ended up in classified regular again, which again was a choice. And again, not like retroized or anything, but sort of made it even more classified, if that makes sense. But very much more like his classified artwork with the red vents and all that kind of stuff. In any case, that's by the by. But yeah, so we were going to have Blood and Snake Eyes to finish that. Like those are going to be those of the line plan. Let's call it. And then we had the whole packaging fiasco. So Hasbro decided to switch to non-plastic packaging. Fine, cool, whatever. And then almost rescinded that. Like I want to say that it was like a matter of months. It wasn't like a long period of time. It might have been a matter of a month where they backtracked after the kind of feedback. But no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a couple of months because you had a whole wave of figures come out before they sort of backtracked and said that classified are going to have bubbles on the retro cards. Don't worry about it, sort of thing. So that sort of like they ended the retro series, then restarted it with Cobra Commander in the HasLab, but kind of sort of got that one right to a degree with the border and everything and the reinforced card and what have you. And then coming off the back of the HasLab, just sort of like, obviously we had the reinforced card still, and that's gone on and that's fine. But the artwork was a little off. It was always a little bit odd. It was always like, you had like the articulation points included in the artwork. And it's like, you don't need to do that, guys. Like, seriously, like, if you don't have the in the O-ring artwork, if you don't have the blooming rivets and the friggin' elbow articulation, then why are you putting it on the actual classified figures? I want to say that was a maybe like a miscommunication or like something, but that seemed odd that they were putting that on there. Either way, yeah, we've basically had this very odd, strange sort of like history of this line so far, and it's never really landed in that sweet spot. It's definitely hit some really high notes. Duke, Scarlet, even Snake Eyes at the end of the first phase, that retro Snake Eyes was dope. Gung Ho was amazing. Like I said, a big fan of Lady J with the retro accessories. I'm trying to think of the other ones that we've had. I mean, Mindbender, Viper was really good too. Rock and Roll's been great. There's been some absolute bangers in all honesty. And then you get like some kind of like ones where you kind of go, I'm not quite sure what you're doing there. The Eel made sense as a reissue. Like it made sense for me anyway, from a perspective of some people were complaining they didn't get the Eel. The Eel, so like the changes they made to that was so minimal. Like it was like the ever so slight color variation, but not much. You put them next to each other, you can't really tell apart from the blue and the red on the kind of loops on the harpoon and what have you. But like for the most part, you're not really, you can get away with having, those eels and not feel like you're missing out on anything. The Snow Serpent was a big kind of, again, strange decision making, not doing the retro accessories. Like you can see where that has been really effective and where fans have lost their mind. And that just to me was like, well, they're very much in a position where they are kind of saving costs as much as they can. And that was a situation where I think there was probably somewhere else that budget could have been moved around a little bit. But either way, I'm not the one doing the logistics and the accounting, so it's easy for me to say you should have done retro accessories. It was probably just one of those things that couldn't be done at the end of the day. But even though that Snow Serpent, I think that Snow Serpent's a phenomenal figure. I love it. But the fact that it doesn't have retro accessories is a real, like, it's a real bugbear of mine, and probably the only situation, I think, not the only situation actually, one of few situations I could see an accessory pack working really well for classified. So before John Warden was, let go of the company, he had talked about doing accessory packs for classified and Transformers, and said that they were, like, right around the corner. Since John hasn't been at Hasbro, we've heard nothing of accessory packs. That's not to say they're not happening, but maybe that was something that was John's sort of like baby that he wanted to have happen, and then it never came to fruition. I don't know, but just from an outside perspective looking in, that's what it feels like almost. I would say that with an accessory pack, I think they'd do a great service to the fans putting like a ton of backpacks in there, like a Buzzer backpack, a Ripper backpack, a Big Ben backpack, yeah, alliteration. And there's so many, like, there's so many Crazy Legs alternate head. Just saying. There's a ton of things they could do in an accessory pack that would be almost like one of those things that would just wipe out a lot of everyone's sort of like annoyance and complaining about certain aspects. Like a whole heap of retro accessories for the Snow Serpent. Things like there's more. You may even be saying in the comments, but I haven't looked at the comments for ages. But you know what I mean? There's like 100% situation where you could do some cool stuff with an accessory pack. That said, I should be talking about the female Crimson Guard. So to give my summary on the Guard, in terms of the card, a little bit shy at the moment. We had some really nice Adam Rich's artwork, which looked to have been completely, like, not complete, but it's been changed. Look at the two side by side. If you look at Adam's posts on socials, they are very much different in terms of what we got and what was done. So some sort of AI filter has been run over these kind of on this card art, because it just doesn't look right anymore. So in any case, card hasn't quite nailed it, which is a shame, and they had an opportunity to do so as well, I would say. Then you've got the actual figure itself, which I would say is an absolute home run. The only thing that a few people have mentioned is that it's sort of copying the retro Crimson Guard we got at the end of the first phase, which was a different Crimson, has the silver faceplate, what have you. Okay, fair enough. That does mean, though, that we're probably going to get a female Crimson Guard of regular Crimson deco with the black faceplate eventually in the future. Have no fear. That will be done on Earth as it is in heaven. Okay, that will happen, sure, like, no doubt. In terms of the actual accessory loadout, really cool. The fact that the backpack is included, I'm over the moon. For some reason, I think I was looking at like some of the images that didn't have the backpack, right? And I was sort of like, oh, we don't get a backpack with it. And I was talking about it as it was been revealed, looking at an image with a backpack. I'm like, oh, wait, no, there's a backpack there. So I was like totally excited that they did that. And why wouldn't they? It's a Crimson Guard, they need a backpack. Of course, you've got the bayonet and M16 rifle. You've got the pistol. You've got the dagger. You've got the sword, alternate hands, and of course the figure stand. I think the only thing you're missing out on here are alternate heads to make a troop builder sort of thing kind of going on. And I mean non-helmeted heads, which I think would have been really cool and would have been a great opportunity to get Laura 343 in there. But then again, who knows? Maybe that happens for the next one. Maybe when we get that redone Crimson Guard with the crimson that matches, the Crimson Strike team, the black faceplate and what have you. When we eventually get that, maybe that will have Laura 343 thrown in there. Who knows? But fingers crossed that does actually happen with alternate heads, because I kind of feel like the Crimson Guards have been the ones that need alternate heads more than any other figure, and they're the ones that haven't got them. Please explain to me why we haven't got a Fred head. There's another one. Throw that in the accessories box. So at the moment, I've got an accessories pack to the left here, which is absolutely heaving. So it might need a number of accessory packs in order to, get us where we need to be with the line a little bit here. But like, Fred heads, Laura 343 head here for this particular figure. What did I say? Oh, unmasked Tommy Arashikage, by the way. Why have we not got Storm Shadow unmasked yet? We've got all these Storm Shadows. Oh, we have got an unmasked Storm Shadow from the movie, and everyone's just kind of like turned off at that point. There's only, I think it's just that one, isn't it? One unmasked head of Tommy Arashikage, and it is the movie Tommy. Amazing. But yeah, come on, like we need a Fred head. We need a Fred 7. Like, so again, Cobra Commander, Battle Armor Cobra Commander. Why didn't we get Fred 7 head with that? Like, I like the kind of like snake head under the helmet idea. Great. They did 2 different head sculpts because there's I want to say there's like sculpt on the interior of the eye. Maybe I'm misremembering that. I'll have to have a look at the figure. It's right there. But in any case, they did an alternate head for Cobra Commander, but it wasn't a Fred 7, which again, odd choices there. And yeah, you could use that Fred 7 for then the Crimson Guards. So I think you could do like 3 Fred heads in like an accessory pack. Do you know what I mean? You got the handlebar mustache. Yes, you got the handlebar mustache Cobra Commander. Indeed, guys. Yeah. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, the Crimson Guard, I think in general, for what this particular Crimson Guard, female Crimson Guard does, phenomenal, love it. I'm fine with this deco, but only knowing the caveat that surely we'll be getting the regular. I mean, come on, we're going to be getting a regular Crimson Guard female at some point in the line. It just wouldn't make sense for them not to do that. And then here we go with the other shots of the actual female CG. Joe Bits, thank you for the super chat, very much appreciated. Anxiously waiting for Stretcher and Cesspool. Yeah, both very cool, awesome, underrated in Stretcher, and Cesspool's one I think a lot of people are after, especially with the kind of quirkiness that they've done so well with. The team have done so well with the quirky characters. Raptor is phenomenal. Crystal Ball kind of got in the Hall of Fame first year, incredible. There's a lot of really Nemesis Immortal, Cobra Commander Once a Man, Pythona, where they do like the really weird and wacky stuff. It's like, just knocking it out the park. So I think Cesspool would be just next level. And Stretcher's really underrated as a figure. The only thing I don't like about Stretcher is just that really weird, like, air skiff he's got. It's so odd. It makes no sense to me, that thing. They'd have to do something else with that. But anyway, thank you, Joe Bits. Always appreciate the super chats on here. Scott Skeen says, hell yeah, male and female Twilight Guard 2-pack. That would be amazing. Real Zim said, I'd love to see them reuse this buck for other variants like Cadet Deming, Python Patrol, Twilight Guard. I'm with you on that as well, Real Zim. I think getting a Python Crimson Guard female would be so cool. And same with Cadet Deming and the Twilight Guard, which a few of you have mentioned so far. Yes, it would only be the reuse of the head, basically, I think, for the most part. Maybe the legs. But yeah, anyway, up for that, big time. Couchboy says Hasbro owns cartoon, not comics. Is that why classified as cartoon heavy, not comics? No. And what do you mean they don't own comics? I don't quite understand what you mean by that, Couchboy. Because it's their IP. They own it, whether it's in the comics or the cartoon. Whoever is like Skybound don't own it. They are licensing it from Hasbro, and so on and so forth. And in the same, like, the Marvel scenario has been and gone sort of thing. Like, they were still licensing it from Hasbro. I want to see the Blind Woodsman that saved Snake Eyes done on retro card. That'd be kind of cool. Hammer figure would be really cool. Couch, yes, absolutely. Cliff says, I'm waiting for the Thunder Machine as well as Storm Rider and his trike. All very good shouts. Jeffrey says, Chris, hear me out. Cobra Commander version 8 with unmasked head accessories. Version 8. Okay, Joe, can you just tell me what version 8 is? Because I don't know off the top of my head. I'm going to have to count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4 was the Mental Blue one with the red mask. 5 was Talking Battle Commanders, or vice versa. 6 was Battle Core, maybe. 7 was Star Brigade. So what the hell was 8? Or was he Star Brigade? Please let me know, Jeffrey. I can't be bothered to look it up. We need bikes for the Nox. Yes, we do, Cliff. I use my spare Rattler gun ahead on a Retro Trooper to make the Courier Scarface from the OG comics has let it roll. Nice. I want Transformers, Old Snake, Cobra Commander, says Chris G. That would be great. David Meller says, even Chris, only need Budo and Short Fuse and Steeler and all caught up. Brilliant. I've got Budo. I don't have Short Fuse and Steeler yet. Although, oh yeah, Target just shipped them, didn't they? So yeah, I will have soon. We need Quinn. Yes, we do. Couchboy says, oh yeah, that's true. They avoid comics figures. Yeah, we haven't had a lot of comics. You're right. We haven't had a lot of comic stuff. And I don't think it's really, I just think it's kind of really what I think they're doing a lot to feedback, honestly. And when it's like, I think it's hard to say, isn't it? Because there's a lot of good comic stuff out there, which I think would make for really good classified figures. I think they'll get to it eventually. It's like the Sunbow cartoon is low-hanging fruit. Everyone remembers it. It's bright. It's in your face. It's it's there. It's very much imprinted. So I think it's easier to default to that, especially when you've got another company in Super 7 very much focusing on that as well. It sort of like highlights those things to other creators. A made-to-order Thunder Machine, I could see that happening. That would be kind of cool, shelf presence. Figure 6-pack Chris, the episode The Gods Below has Lady J in a Crimson Guard uniform, a better use for the female CG. That's a good shout. Mark says Hasbro own all the IP for the comics, which is why publishers are able to republish material from previous publishers. Thank you, Mark. I feel like I explained that, but yeah, that's much succinct to the point and better, well explained. Tac is a classified Chris diagnosticating McLeod communications expert. Amazing. I don't think anyone wants that apart from me. Version 8 is the 97 re-release of the Battle Armor figure, but in blue. Cool. Thank you, Jeffrey. I was getting there, I think. But yeah. Yes, okay. With a hooded one, basically, is what you're saying, aren't you? Cliff says, question, can we get a few funny ones? The Vindo Viper and Fumbles. I don't know. I just don't know how that would go over with classified collectors. Like, I feel like they would be heavily, like, unless they came with something that was like coveted, like in a set, right? I could see the Vindo Viper sort of like shelf warming or windowsill warming. Fumbles is another, that's a big shout. Just listening and dusting figures. Happy weekend, everyone. Thank you, Krusty Old Crow. Cool Breeze figure. Yes, Ricardo. Anyway, sorry. There's a ton of comments. I can't get to all of them. My apologies. We need to get through these, really, don't we? Anyway, Crimson Guard, female. I think very cool. All in all, I'm happy with the figure. A few like minor changes, like incorporating troop builder heads, and obviously reverting to the actual current Crimson Strike team, which is over there, obviously. You knew that. So yeah, I think, but again, I think we'll get that. Whoa, earthquake. I think we'll get that when they inevitably repaint the CG. Then of course we get Crazy Legs. And I think we're getting closer to something that I wanted in the retro series, in a variation on a card theme. And of course, we got it with, I think we started with Mindbender and Viper, where we got the digital explosion background. It was like, yes, we're nearly there. And, it's like, yes, this is sort of like going in the right direction, going away from the kind of classic explosion background and kind of going and utilizing characters that were maybe in the Sonic Fighters or Ninja Force or what have you. That's sort of where I think the retro card series could really do an absolute nuisance. Like I could see them, really doing a sub-team sort of scenario where you just get them all, the wave is like that Spider-Man wave with Marvel Legends. Marvel Levens. Margil Levens sounds like a historic figure from back in the day. Margil Levens is what I'm going to call that line from now on. But yeah, I would say for again, like if you look at the two different pieces of artwork, we've got a completely different face on the final piece than what I saw when I looked at the artwork on Adam's post. So weird they would do that. Why run it? I mean, other than the face, it looks great. And it's like, why did you do that? Why did you do that, Hasbro? Anyway, that seems like a really odd choice, right? For one, on the artwork. But then, it's so close. You've got the 3D logo to kind of make it, a little bit more like of the time. It's always doing, it's always, they're kind of moving in the right direction there. No border. And of course, we're not having border. Clearly, they've just decided we're not going to do the border. And it doesn't matter. The retro cards are massive. Do you really need all that space to show art off on? Because you just make it smaller. You fit in the same space. You're just making the art kind of like scaling it smaller. Like I don't see that being a problem. And I personally need the border in order to complete the card back. I feel like it just, and I know it's on a black background, so obviously it's doing this, but it just disappears. It just doesn't actually end. It just continues into the ether for me. And I kind of feel like it needs that nice, border, bang, there you go. Now, in terms of the figure, no real notes other than the head sculpt. And when I say head sculpt, I just mean they should have incorporated both heads at the end of the day. We should have the standard head and we should have this head as well, I think, because again, that makes him versatile. As it is, you sort of have to get the Night Force head and pop it on this one, which not everyone's going to have the Dragonfly, but some might want Crazy Legs, or have been holding out for Crazy Legs and didn't get the Night Force one because of that. So I can see that being a real sort of like issue there, honestly, for a lot of people. Joe Bits, thank you again for the super chat, mate. Appreciate it. Realizing file cards are for retro, not classified. Yes. Yeah, we've got very cool like separate file cards for the classified line that come out like as separate social posts, and we have very much sort of like, thank you very much, Joe, we have very much like kind of like a afterthought file card with multiple languages on it for the retro. And I kind of feel like if you can't do it right, then don't do it, and get the cross sell above it. Like it makes no sense to me to have the file card at the top, and they just have not got the card right yet for retro, which is a shame. It feels like it's probably the easiest thing to get right, honestly. It's a matter of getting the graphic elements there and then just locking it in, but it doesn't seem to be, they seem to be missing the target on that, I would say. In any case, like no notes on the figure in general. I love the Crazy Legs figure. I love the gear he comes with. He comes with a lot of stuff. He's got the extra secondary, the kind of straps that go over the top of the other kind of secondaries. He's got the helmet, the removable goggles, the backpack, the machine gun, submachine gun. He's got like a lot of gear to work with, and I'm well into this particular figure. The problem we have is he comes with a head sculpt that is only applicable or appropriate for one specific scenario, and that is yelling Yo Joe or just being really mental. And yes, I know his name is Crazy Legs, but he's also, I mean, it's a term, it's a parachute term, isn't it? In any case, there you go, Crazy Legs. And it kind of highlights the head sculpt gets high. Again, I don't have an issue with the head sculpt itself. I think it's absolutely fine and dandy. But he needs an alternative, and unless you have the Night Force version, then that kind of puts you in a difficult position. So yeah, I would say in this case, it's just kind of like killing his versatility by making him a very one-dimensional kind of head sculpt kind of character. But other than that, the figure, like I said, is dope, and it really highlights here how mental he looks in some capacities. Like the one on the left image there, where he's leaning a little bit. Yeah, I can see him kind of getting in the yelling kind of face going on. Not maybe that one on the right though, where he's kind of more upright, and certainly not the one on the left where he's just looking like, chill out, mate. The knife, I could see him getting a little angry and aggressive. He's pulling a knife out, obviously, but whatever. He might just be peeling potatoes. Maybe he's angry about it. The one where he's on his knee here, just kind of reloading. Again, chill out, mate. And again, the one on the right, I can see there, firing the gun and everything. Yeah, that makes sense. And this one is my favorite image of all of them. And this is the one that I think is now off. This was taken off Hasbro Pulse, but I'm so glad I managed to save it. I like it when these little quirky errors happen. They kind of add to the nice history of funny things that happen along the way in this brand. Like the head sculpt is not a bad head sculpt in my opinion. It's just he doesn't have the versatility of having two different head sculpts. That is the problem for me. But the head sculpt does its job. If you want him yelling, if you want him yelling Yojo, parachuting, firing his machine gun, using his knife in close combat, then it makes sense. But if you want him stoic and chill, you're not going to get that unless you've got the Night Force version. So there you go. And it's certainly not Falcon bad. That's one of the worst head sculpts I've ever seen in any line of anything. Anyway, that Crazy Legs is going to be sitting in the modular defense post porta potty. Yeah, Sean, I like that. It does give, the mouth does give that sort of like straining sort of scenario. In any case, again, Crazy Legs almost perfect. They just didn't quite get the head sculpt situation in order. But maybe it's a fitting it into the bubble, the costing. There's a lot of gear he comes with. Again, I still think it would have been better to go with the Night Force alternate head here as well. I really do. But it is what it is. It is what it is at the end of the day. Maybe we could get that head again in the accessory pack that I'm building to the left over here. I'm going to create a list of things that I want in an accessory pack from the Joe team, including stuff they haven't actually done and stuff they have done that could be reused again for other situations, like Crazy Legs head. Anyway, that's Crazy Legs. And then we get to Zap, Rafael Melendez. And again, this one actually, no notes at all. Again, the artwork has been changed from the original, which again I find perplexing. But it's not like offensively bad like some of the others have been. The only thing a lot of people have mentioned, he seems a little off center and should probably be shifted to the right a bit. And I do agree with that. I do think that Zap should kind of nudge to the right ever so slightly, because you've got a bit of space there with the bazooka kind of like barrel. You could get it closer to the bubble for sure, and it would bring more of the missing elements of Zap onto the actual card. So I would say, yeah, ever so slightly that could have just been done. That could have done with a little ever so slight nudge to the right, the artwork there, and keep the explosion where it is as well. Because again, like I don't think it would have looked too crazy for him to just be nudged over to the right a little bit. But again, we've kind of talked about the artwork, and I think that will improve going forward, because they get a lot of flack for that, and honestly, rightly so when they AI the crap out of it. But in this kind of scenario, the figure, it's just no notes for me. I think he's absolutely spot on perfect. So for me, that I've just no notes. I don't even think I don't even think I came up with anything it could improve him, because I mean, Zap is Zap from the OG-13. Like he is this is his character, this is his design. He's got the old school helmet, he's got the retro backpack with removable rockets. He's got the bazooka, which is sort of a kind of combination of the two bazookas that came with that mail away that came. I think one was a mail away actually, but that you could get with this Zap figure. Basically, two different kind of versions of that bazooka. There might actually been three versions of it, but I think one was like a deco thing as opposed to a sculpt thing. Either way, you get this very, very good bazooka that he comes with, that I'm really up for. And I'm again, like, I think you can't really go wrong with a character who, I would say, I'm going to go out on a limb here, that the original figure is a bit bland. Like Zap is not really, and he's not really Zap either. The fact that he doesn't have the mustache, very much Rafael Melendez. They've definitely leaned into his Hispanic heritage, and I'm really happy about that. So, again, you get that kind of like I just think they've done a really good job with this, and the head sculpt is absolutely phenomenal. Like, it's just so good. Like the slick hair, the tash, the face, very. He kind of gives me Pedro Pascal in Fantastic Four vibes a little bit. Um, just in kind of like the shape of the face. I know Pedro Pascal's already been assigned to Footloose by a lot of people in the in in the fandom. One of which is a toy kind of mood. Travis, I did see your comment up earlier, but I was on a tangent and a rant at the time, and I forgot to mention it. Hey, buddy, hope you're doing well, and thanks for the comments as well in the chat. I think Zap is an absolute home run in terms of the figure and the accessories, because again, they made sure that they got the retro accessories done for the figure, and I think that is the right thing to do. When I saw the harness on Short Fuse, I knew Zap was on the way, says Blitz. Oh yeah, well, yes, absolutely. It's an entire Short Fuse body, I believe. They've just got a different head sculpt. But in terms of the harness and I think even the secondaries on the holsters and the thigh secondaries, I believe those are all. I think the whole thing is Short Fuse, effectively. Airborne Customer says the bazooka works for OG Zap, but it's a World War II design, and I really hope they give us a class. Oh, come on, Darren. Like, I get it, right? This is not military realistic. You know that. It never has been. And like the fact that, like, with the bazooka, it makes me laugh because you do go on about this a lot in the comments, Darren, when it comes to the military thing. And I know there are a lot of you out there that say, like, this isn't true to reality. It's G.I. Joe. That's why. You can't have them doing the figures that you loved as a kid and it being like anywhere near military accurate. It's just not the case. You know that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. I just don't think you have. Like, I don't think you can actually like ask for it when you're talking about a retro figure based on a figure from 1982. Like, they had so many World War II like things going on in the early like years and everything. It was just like some of it was actually still in use at that point. But like, I get it, but at the same time, I think it's one of those things you have to let go of and just like focus. Like, there are other military related lines that do things exactly military, right? And that's kind of what you need to end up with. And with it, when it comes to like Joe, it is not. It's just its own thing. Do you know what I mean? And they'll sometimes do a thing where it's like, okay, well, we made this a little bit more grounded in realism and then that kind of thing. And that's where you get those sort of things come in. But I don't think you can really have it both ways. So, and somehow they kind of try to get a balance. And I think at the end of the day, it's balancing these things, isn't it? But yeah, I'm sure you'll get like, there'll be, I mean, if you want a Zap that comes with more, like, for his period of time, more military things from his period, you can probably do that. There's probably all those items exist in the accessory loadout already, right? I don't know. It's just funny to me that there's always that sticking point with those things, and we're talking about Zap from 1982 that they are literally copying to give people a retro version of him. I don't think you can make that point here, mate. Honestly, or you're making that point to the original design team on that sense, because it's like, this is what they're making this for the specific reason, and it ain't to do a modern military figure. Like, Zap is a very much of his time in that period. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, it just that always makes me laugh. Again, Zap, no notes, solid. Comes with a Sunbow rifle as well, which is a nice touch. Pistol, helmet. An additional element I don't think was 100% necessary, but we got it anyway, so that's nice. Yeah, there you go. And we get one more shot of Zap close up that the other ones didn't get, which I find interesting. But maybe it was just to highlight his use of the bazooka and also like some of the other little features on it as well. Because again, it's just one lump of plastic at the end of the day, but there's a lot of nice little touches and details and sculpt on it. And when you think about what that original bazooka looks like in the 1982 line, it's very much a smooth, not really a lot of detail on it kind of weapon, isn't it? And this one has got a lot more going on, which I like the fact they've done that. Anyway, that is it for all of our news stories. Is it just comics and the pre-order drops? But what can I say? Like, sometimes we have chill weeks, and I still got an hour and 10 minutes out of it. So I don't know how I manage it. So now let's talk about, first off, leak listings 2025. This is all complete now. I will keep showing this until we switch over to 2026. So annoyingly, I did this last year where we'd completed the map of the plan, the line plan, including those 2 inactive listings there. We've completed, it's done, but I'm still going to keep referring to it before we go into 2026. There we go. Now we're into 2026, and no changes other than the green update of Female Crimson Guard, Crazy Legs, and Zap, of course. And still don't know who Zanya is, but I have had a little bit more information, and hopefully it will help me unlock her on the listings in the future, the near future. So if I can get that information, I will obviously unlock it on the listings page here. But at the moment, anyone's guess, honestly. Excuse me. Now, I wanted to, at this point, talk about the made-to-order Arctic Assault Hiss with driver. In actual fact, let's move on a little bit and talk about the name-only reveals. Officially, at the moment, we are Iceberg, Taurus and Red Dog 2-pack, Ninja Force Sartan, Hydro Viper, and Zanya. And of course, digital renders left are the Arctic Assault Hiss and the Cobra La Royal Guard. Now, the reason I wanted to stop on this page in particular is because we've got a nice visual of the Arctic Assault Hiss, which is this new made-to-order situation, which they've obviously done with other lines in the past, Marvel Legends specifically, and are going to be doing now with this particular Arctic Assault Hiss tank. Now, I want to get some feedback from you guys, not necessarily, to then pass on to Hasbro or whatever, but maybe we could get some information together, and I could just forward them a little bit of response from you guys. I don't see a problem with that. Do you? I mean, it might be like unsolicited information they don't want, or they might be very open to it. So what I wanted to say here was, we look like we're in a position where HasLab tooling is obviously on the table for redecos, for reuse in other versions of those vehicles. The Arctic Assault Hiss, I think, is a pretty solid reason to bring back the HasLab tooling. Personally, anyway, I mean, I want an Arctic I wanted a Python Patrol Hiss tank. I wanted a Crimson Hiss tank. I wanted a blue Hiss tank. I wanted a septic tank. I want all the different versions of it, but I know that's a little bit excessive. So I was very excited when they revealed they're going to do the Arctic Assault Hiss, which is my favorite version of the Hiss tank. The Arctic one is my favorite version. I love the fact they changed the weapons section, like the missiles instead of the gun turret, and also the racks. I was really a big fan of. Like, it gave it a little bit more sort of I don't know, just a bit more kind of personality, originality, and I really like it. Now, I know a lot of people have kind of complained that they feel like it's like a spitting in the face of people that paid for the first Hiss tank. I'm not really sure how that works, honestly. Are we getting spat in the face with any other thing that gets done or reused or repainted or retooled or whatever? I know in terms of HasLab, it's kind of like this is a one-time deal. You're never going to get it before. But what I kind of gauge from that is we're not getting another standard black Hiss tank ever again. That's what I gather from that, with all the other accoutrements, like the figures and the missile racks and the other things that, the changes of canopies and side panels and all that kind of stuff, all the other additional elements. No electronics, that's that sort of vibe. So for me, if it's just a matter to reuse the carcass, I'm like, go ahead, just get it done. And the other thing is, I feel like there's too much emphasis put on here of like you feel like everything you need to get every single thing that happens. And like I know that that is part of the collector mentality. I have it myself. Classified as the only thing I collect, so I tend to be a completist on it. But at the same time, I I understand that at some point, if there's something I don't want, I am well within my rights to say nah. And there's been a few times actually when I came close to that. The retro bat, which is now shipped. But like the retro bat was one where I was kind of like, I'm not 100% sure I genuinely really need it, but the kind of the compulsion took over for that one. But that is still my decision. Do you know what I mean? Like it's still me going, yeah, I'm cool not having it. Do you know what I mean? I'm cool not doing it. So like, I don't know. I feel like if it's just a matter of using a carcass to get a redeco to do something cool with like this, I'm kind of down for it. I'm sorry. I'm here for that sort of thing. Um, so I'm 100% behind this. But again, like I genuinely did not expect them to do my favorite hiss tank, and I'm like slightly on a different. I'm looking at it from a different set of eyes there. So I definitely understand that some people will have an issue with that, and I'm here for you on that, and that's fine. You are welcome to have that opinion as well. But I like think it's one of those things. One of those things where you have to kind of go, well, Hasbro going to Hasbro too. You know, like that's always going to be the case. If they feel like there's legs in it, they're going to run them ragged. Now, that wasn't my question in any case. What I will say is obviously HasLabs look to be on the menu, boys and girls and other. So I would say in this particular scenario, Arctic Hiss follows very, almost tightly 3 years after the regular Hiss, I believe, like or close enough. Does that mean then that the MTO is just going to be a redeco of the HasLab every single year? Because one, it could be. But two, I would suggest that there's an option here with MTO where we could get vehicles that don't quite fit the yes, we can do this at a retail capacity or a Pulse exclusive capacity, or a Fanmazon capacity. I'm thinking about some of the kind of bigger vehicles. Maybe we could squeeze in there your things like your Thunder Machines, and trying to think of other things off the top of my head. But like, there's probably the water moccasin and things like that, right? So maybe that is where those particular vehicles that we could have had might end up in this particular made to order sort of scenario. Now, with that said, what would you guys like to see as an MTO going forward? Personally, again, I'm the wrong person to really ask about this or talk to about this, because I'm going to be like, well, I want a tiger fly, I want a tiger cat, I want all of the redecos of the HasLab things. Of course I do. But I think this is a good opportunity for you guys to kind of say maybe what you'd want to see. And like I said, I'll kind of keep an eye on it. I'll make some comments to the team and say this is what we got in terms of response. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to put a post on our socials and I'll be like, made to order, new thing. What would you guys like to see going forward? Right. So you can talk about it in here. And we can use the comments as just for the conversation here. And then obviously for the social post, you guys can put that in and I will forward that to them because it's easier for them to see. Because I think all the comments sort of disappear on YouTube once I've done the live, which I'm sure I've changed the setting for that, but by the by, isn't it? Conquest, says Bias, is a great shout. Absolutely. Tigerfly, Jeffrey, I'd love that, honestly. But again, you're saying that seems inevitable. Shark is an interesting one, Darren, because I think that might be in the sort of Vamp or Striker territory. But when you start to kind of focus on how it could look, design, size, maybe two figures fit in it in the cockpit, maybe it does get a little bit bigger and maybe it does become more of an MTO sort of situation. Buzzbore, SVF and G, I think you might be having a laugh with that one. I want to see that just on retail shelves, please. Blitz says MTO mid-sized vehicle, mid-sized, and HasLab dream-sized, or vice. Yeah, I don't think vice versa. I think you got it there. I think MTO would be a mid-size to generally, semi-large, and HasLab would be your stupid things. Personally, Joe says stun, and I think that's a great shout. Joe Armstrong. Just Under says Havoc, another good shout actually. And based on leaked information from focus groups, the Havoc's been in contention. So is the Stun, I think, actually. Thunder Machine is the obvious one, and I'd get it for sure, but I would love a bridge layer with Toll Booth as my number one made to order. Tim, that's not a bad shout. Like the bridge layer, the kind of tanks that we've kind of been talking about recently, maybe they could be in that MTO kind of bracket, or maybe they could do take a leaf from like Rahman's book and do sort of like a bridge layer that sort of incorporates some of the tooling from the tank, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong on that. It might be two completely different builds, but I'm not 100% sure actually. Stanley says modular system Dreadnok bikes, 2 or 3 different bike frames with 20 plus pieces to build in a box set. That's an interesting one to do. Yeah. Conquest says Just Under. Yeah, Thunder Machine has to play Cold Slither MP3, says Couchboy. We want a Thunder Machine first, says Lego Star Wars Kid. Havoc would be a HasLab 100%, says Bias, probably. I voted for the Water Moccasin in 2026, says Joe. Cliff, Knock Bikes, Thunder Machine, Couchboy. Yep, got that one, mate. Lego Star Wars Kid, 2-door, 4-seater Thunder Machine. Hell yeah. 2-seater Sunbow Shark, perhaps, but I'd prefer a retail if they just do an upscale of the original, says Scott. I'd love a Tigerfly and a Crimson Hiss tank in made to order, says Tac Tac. Ryan says, we have all the rawhides, and now we need a Tomahawk. Now we're talking. I think Tomahawk would be HasLab for me. I could see Tomahawk, Whale, all the stupid big stuff as HasLab, and then when you come down a level is where MTO, I think, kind of, starts singing to me. 2-seater Shark would be cool, says Real Zim. HasLab should come with $50 coupon for future reuse, says Chris G. Stun never. Okay, I got that. I must have crossed wires there, Bias. So Stun's never been in any of the focus groups. I think it's been mentioned though in the past, or maybe I'm just getting confused with it being on General Hawk's figure box art. The MTO Arctic Hiss was released to combat the Snowcat. Whatever the next Cobra HasLab comes out, will have the Dragonfly combat that. Cobra Moray, Water Rescue, Dragonfly, says Scott Mora. That'd be kind of cool. I want the Conquest X30 as a HasLab, says Jason. Just Under says Maggot and Worm. That way we get a playset and tank in one. That's a dope suggestion. But I think, again, a Maggot would have to be HasLab, in my opinion. Cobra Commander is in the chat. Hello. Blast Cobra La and everyone there for blinding me. As you know what, I was once a man. Thank you, Cobra Commander. Jason Todd says Wolverine is not a bad shout, actually, for MTO with like another cover girl. Because you could do like a retro cover girl body with a toy cover girl head sculpt. Or, that'd be dope, actually. I want a classified scale Hound, non-transforming, and clutch. Shelf presence. I want a classified scale Hound, transforming and clutch. But I'm with you on that. It's a good shout too. Slugger says Scott. There's loads, and you guys are churning them out. Battle Bunker. There's a random one from Nictimus Prime. Hydrofall, no one has mentioned that. I think the Moray is sort of everyone's expected HasLab for the next one, Just Under. How many MTOs do we need to place before they get made? Don't know. And I feel like there must be a minimum order quantity, Cliff. But to be honest, I feel like they must be quite confident in that they'll get the numbers they need to run it. But because there's got to be that sort of like thing where you go, we're only running this, but that's not really how factories work a lot of the time. Sergeant Slaughter Warthog. Oh, of course. You see, again, I think that should be a HasLab. But I could, I think the Warthog is HasLab personally. APC and brilliant. I think another HasLab though. Shark 9000 HasLab, says Jeffrey. That'd be cool. Anyway, that was fun. I enjoyed that. And like I said, I'll get a social post out regards to made to order, and sort of put that question out to you guys and on all our socials, and just see what the feedback is in regards to what you guys would want to see, like year on year, in that sort of made to order sort of spot, because it feels like they're kind of like this is like an experiment to a degree to see if this works as a thing, and if it does pay off for them, damn right you'll be seeing it again. Not necessarily multiple times. I think there's only so much you can the fandom can really take on board. An MTO and a HasLab every year would be freaking mental, but it's what we've got this year, So who's to say that if it succeeds this year, they'll just do it next year with the HasLab? So, I guess strap in, people. Right then, I could have said the wrong one then, and that would have been really awkward. Right, let's get a quick message from our sponsor, and then we'll do shout outs. Lots of information in shout outs still, so do not go anywhere. Yes, the deluxe treasury editions of the Battle Action Force comics are available at totaltoybooks.com if you're in the United Kingdom and Europe, and of course skeletron.com if you're in the US. So that is, yeah, then they're beautiful. Get them, you want them. Also, massive shout out to Articulated Points, to Pat, to Phil. Of course, Pat, unfortunately at the moment, it's just a situation where we are not available at the same time. As soon as that is the case, we will be back together. Trust me, I want it to happen. We almost happened for the Freakly. So annoying. But again, we just missed each other again. But check out Articulated Point's latest episode. It's an absolute banger. Phil and Pat talk about a figure that we could have had, like a cancelled figure we could have had in 94, 95 kind of period. Go check it out. It's a great episode. And it's especially if you like all the history, then you'll love this big time. Cobra Commander says, not now. Can't you see I'm watching the full force with Diagnostic 80? Handle it yourself. I love that we've got Destro's here as well. Oh my god, we've got the full on actual Cobra Commander Destro and Zartan every now and again as well. Destro says, Commander, you are needed. The Joseph infiltrated Cobra headquarters. I love this. This is a little story is happening in the comments. Absolutely brilliant. We'll find out that it's AI and it'll be really sad. But no, maybe they're official little things that are happening, and we've got little conversation going on, little almost like a drama happening in the comments. I really like that. In fact, let's highlight them so to preserve the this in history. Here's Cobra Commander's first one. Look, blast Cobra La and everyone there for blinding me. As you not know, I was once a man. And then we had Destro. Hang on, I'm doing this on purpose because I want to remember these. I want these to be again fused into the history of the full force. And then Destro said, Commander, you are needed. The Joseph infiltrated Cobra headquarters. It's so fun. There's an actual storyline happening in the comments, guys. This is crazy. And I have nothing to do with this, by the way. I don't know who is behind this. Obviously, Cobra Commander and Destro. And here's Cobra Commander saying, not now. Can't you see I'm watching the full force with Diagnostic 80? Handle it yourself. Indeed. I wonder if there's going to be more. Anyway, if there is, I'll try and find it. Where's Zartan Scott? Indeed, because he usually pops up, doesn't he? Anyway, massive shout out to Articulated Points, to Phil, and to, of course, Pat, my usual co-host, but hasn't been a co-host for ages now. He will be on here. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Cobra Commander, finally someone has the intelligence to recognize my brilliance. Whoever's doing this, though, phenomenal. Love it. Keep it up. Anyway, brilliant stuff. CodenameIowa.com. Shout out, of course, to Brian Sauer and the team at Codename Iowa. Go check out their website for all their awesome gear, of course. Of course, they are also doing Assembly Required on the 14th and 15th. It's coming very soon. We've got loads of updates to go through. So, yes, lots of updates. Starting with this one. Tuesday teaser, resuming transmission, signal secure. In celebration of our theme, each attendee at Assembly Required will receive a free Cobra Island map detailing 5 mission objectives. This is how fun this show is, by the way. Complete these games and activities, collect the encrypted code words, decipher the message, crack the safe, and gain inside intel on Cobra's plans for the future before anyone else, along with a special mission complete ticket, good for our elite drawing, featuring a prize to be unveiled at the end of the show. Isn't that great? Oh, shout out to Mark Beasley as well. Shout out to Mark. Destro, get back to work on the Arctic Assault Hiss. It's not only have we got actual Cobra and Destro and what have you in there, we've also got Hasbro represented here as well. Shout out to Mark. Thank you, Mark, as well, and thank you for getting involved with the Destro and Cobra Commander stuff. That's hilarious. I'm all for this, by the way. I'm all for his like little storylines in the comments, please and thank you. Okay. Next, we've got Joe Declassified showing up, of course, to do a panel. The action figure archaeologists from Joe Declassified, Chris Murray and Patrick Stewart, will take the audience on a trip back in time to reveal the Cobra Island playset that never came to be. If you haven't seen or heard the Cobra Island playset, 3 3/4 wise, then you're in for an absolute treat, guys. What great adventures might we have created had this slice of plastic Cobra paradise made it to production? Attend to find out. Join us at Assembly Required 25, November 14 and 15th for this panel and 2 other great presentations. Now, we've also got this. Yeah, look at all the blooming friggin' legends they've got going on. So they say quite the collection indeed, with guests including Larry Harmer, Ron Rudat, Ron Wagner, Phil Hester, and more. Assembly Required is excited to be a show that's large enough to invite big names, but small enough to give fans more time to meet and speak with the artists who inspire them. So there you go. What a lineup, honestly. It's an absolute solid lineup. There are more, by the way, a lot more updates. So this is the one I missed last week, 31st, as you can see there. Now this is Recondo, little headshot there. Assault on Cobra Island pre-mission briefing from the desk of Hawk. Guide the assault recon team through the jungle, covertly enter the volcanic power station and reverse the energy flow. While this locale gives hot zone a whole new meaning, hostile environments are your natural habitat. Should be no sweat. Fun little element, and this is all related to that little map you'll be given as well. So this is what I love about this show, all these little details, but there's more. So then we have mainframe now. Locate the server farm inside Cobra's landlocked freighter. Assault recon team will run distraction area operations while you hack their stacks. Download the data, upload the virus as time allows, counting on you to get in, get the 411, give the enemy a 503 and get out. Love it. And again, I love all of the design around it as well. Brian does a great job of like all of these little files and everything. It's just so cool and so much bloody fun. Whoever when everyone that's ever been to Assembly Required says the same thing. They end up falling in love with the place, with the actual event, with everything about it. It's small. It's a smaller con, and that kind of makes it a little bit more kind of like, I don't know, just, it's a nicer pace, but also you get to speak to people more. It's just great. Genuinely, it's like a great show. Destro's back. Destro only listens to Destro. Unfortunately, the commander as well, and his ravishing Baroness. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Destro. I wonder who this is. I really want to know who this is in the comments. It's great. Obviously, it's Destro and Cobra Commander, but you know what I mean. And I think this is the final update. There's been a lot. Intel indicates Cobra's prototyping a new BAT model. Assault recon team must breach the manufacturing facility warehouse and confiscate components required to devise countermeasures. Expect increased enemy security. If we need to go loud, you're the one to bring the noise. Brilliant stuff. So love it. Absolutely blooming love it. Massive shout out to Assembly Required. They do a great job. Brian does an amazing job. And I wish, like, I'm not going this year. I'm gutted. I was aiming to. That was my plan, is to do Assembly Required at least in the year, and unfortunately, it's just not been able to kind of happen. But that said, it's a great show, and if you go, you'll love it. Trust me. Now, massive shout out to Skeletron.com, of course, for their amazing support of the channel. You can get the RoboSkull Mark II, of course, right this second. No more kind of updates necessarily from Skeletron, but very recently, of course, they have started progress on shipping the 6-inch figures. So cannot wait for that. Genuinely cannot wait for that. And I think a lot of people will probably agree with me on that one. It's been a long time in coming, but we're getting there very close. And yeah, cannot wait. And I just want to shout out a couple of shout outs here. First of all, Paul at Plastic Battles, Paul Pamphilone, posted this beauty, a shot of the Nox, including, of course, Road Pig and Raucous there, a couple of motorcycles, which are nice. And yeah, just I love Paul's work. He does amazing toy photography. I love the feel on this one, the lighting, everything. It's just phenomenal. So if you haven't checked out Plastic Battles, follow him on all the channels, on Instagram, on everything he's on. Basically, it's worth it. He does some great stuff. Hasn't posted as much recently, but Paul, every time you do post, mate, I'm very excited to see what you come up with. And this is another gorgeous shot. Great stuff. And also, massive shout out to the obviously rollout roll call happened last couple of weeks ago, and Brian and Paddy were in attendance from, of course, Total Toy Books fame and, of course, the Full Force fame. And Brian managed to pick up for me these beauties. We've got the No More Heroes Arctic Red Laser exclusive that was at the show, which obviously is a redeco of the O-ring Arctic Cobra Commander, but it's really cool, really awesome. Love that one from Luke there. So thank you very much to Luke, to Brian, of course, picking it up and shipping it to me. Very nice indeed. He can go in with the rest of the team. And big shout out to Kraken Creations, aka the Kraken Wakes, aka Matt Paul, for this wonderful stealth Skeletron, which has magnetic joints for the 5-point of articulation Skeletron, so you can just pop the old arms off and they pop back on, and they're really strong magnets too. Same for the old legs as well. Isn't that awesome? And they operate in exactly the same way, and they're proper solid. It's beautiful. And of course, like that kind of clear plastic as well is so awesome. Like the transparency on this is so dope. So massive thank you. And anyway, that was for Kate. So I ordered the Skeletron. I managed to get Brian obviously to pick that up for us, but Skeletron's really Kate's, and she was blown away, and she absolutely loves this one. So yeah, 10 out of 10 from both of those. And thank you so much to Matt and Luke for doing those exclusives. Phenomenal stuff. Yeah, lovely. And I just wanted to kind of shout them out, of course, on the show. And of course, finally, this just happened earlier today. And this is only for me at the moment, so don't get all excited that we're going to be doing this in a mass scale. But the wonderful Patch Czar has made these just off his own back and is sending them to me as a little thank you for the show. And I just wanted to first of all say what an absolute legend Patch Czar is. If you're not aware, go follow him on all of the socials. He makes the most amazing patches, and he does them like pretty soon after like a new logo has kind of popped out or something, and it'll be like later that day Patch Czar will have a patch going for it. So yeah, just beautiful stuff. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for these. My plan was to kind of mass produce them to get out as merch as well, but that's for another day. These are just mine as of right now, but I just wanted to say massive thank you to Patch Czar. And that's really kind of you, bud, and thoroughly appreciated. Very, very kind. And I did try and say I'd pay for them, but he didn't want me to. So this one is, I'm not over here going like, yeah, send me free stuff. Not at all. I mean, if you want to do that, I'm not stopping you, but I certainly will have a conversation before you do end up doing something like that. So thank you very much, guys. I very much appreciate all of your support. But I just wanted to shout out Patch Czar for being awesome. And you know how I love patches. Right then, it is beautiful work, Jordan. Thank you very much for Patch Czar especially. That is it for the weekly this week. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me on the episode. I will be back, of course. I'm hoping with more news in the week. And if so, great. And what I might do is I might turn the social post of the made to order kind of thing that I'm going to be doing as well. There he is. Thank you, Patch Czar. Much appreciated. And again, phenomenal work. You do great work, and I'm just very excited to get those patches. Thank you, bud. Anyway, what I was going to say, yeah. So in terms of in the week, the made to order sort of conversation, I kind of want to maybe turn into an episode. So if it's a kind of light week, then I will definitely attempt to do that social post in more of a live kind of scenario, and maybe we can tie it into something else a little bit more structured, with maybe another news item that comes up in the week as well. But we'll see how it goes. Failing that, I've got the Patreon Q&A tomorrow, so I'll see you guys at Sunday around about 3 o'clock at the same time. And other than that, I'll just see you on the next one, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay fresh cheese bags. And as always, after 3, I think you know what to do at this point. 1, 2, 3. Full force. Laters. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.